And he says himself, my personal archive, which has remained mostly private until now. So I'm about to drop you on some amazing names that you need to know. So, Nigo and Jun Takahashi opened up nowhere. The shop initially sold Takahashi's fashion label Undercover. On one side, a selection of Nigo's favorite American sportwear brands, on the other. Like, how iconic. Nigo in 1993 met graphic designer Skate Thing. They quickly bonded over design, music, and late night marathons of Planet of the Apes, because the fashion of that era, chains, t-shirts, like, it was such a vibe. It's a piece of art. It's beautiful. While playful touches like a conveyor belt showcased the trainers, retail in that era was just so amazing. Actual Tokyo Drift signed album cover, like, mental. So in 2021, Nigo was appointed the first Japanese designer since Takada himself to lead their fashion house. In 2024, Nigo was invited by Nike to design a series of exclusive Air Force 3 sneakers and clothing collection. Nike released an animated film starring Nigo controlling a giant evil fighting robot. I learned so much from just reading all the boards in his archive, and I was like, I have to share this with you guys, because there were so many things that I didn't know, and there were so many things that inspired me, and there were so many things like, shit, people are still not doing this. Like, this is way ahead of its time. Hi guys, today I'm going to take you through the entire Nigo exhibition at the Design Museum. It's the first kind of retrospective exhibition he's done, which will take us through all of his kind of like personal objects that have informed his practice. I'm also just quit my corporate job and starting to develop and build my own creative brand, and this is probably the best person to go look at. I learned so much from this. So if you're really into streetwear, if you're really into developing yourself as a creative, or you're building your own brand, this is like one of the most crucial videos, I will say, because I'm literally one of those people that will go to a museum and read every single plaque. I think there was so much hidden gems and like really personal notes that were on the boards. So I took a picture of all of it so I can share it with you guys, because there was such amazing things that showed like his mindset growing up, like all the way from when he was a kid to like how he is now. And it was so clear when walking through, the things we saw at the beginning were things that we actually saw him develop way later down with like Pharrell, for example. So it was really cool to see like actually, yeah, the things that we're actually consuming today, the seeds we're planting, I would say, are going to come to us in the future when we have the tools, when we have the money, the funding. So yeah, I don't really have the funding at all. I'm completely self-funded, and so seeing stuff like this is really important, because you can see someone who has just started from nothing and through his mates, through his community, has built something. So we're going to start in actually his teenage years. He really called himself kind of the futuristic teenager, and he really was getting on the train every weekend and going to Tokyo, where he was able to kind of explore vintage clothing stores. He was going to nightclubs, and he was like kind of poring over these kind of Japanese fashion magazines. And at that time they call it the Amatora trend, which took over Tokyo and became kind of inspired by the American hip-hop artists. And he was really immersed in these subcultures, and that's why his teenage room is completely filled with those kind of items that he collected over the years. Actually, I've seen this in his Tokyo studio, like in some other videos, and I'll try to link it here if I find it. But he has literally, every time I've seen him, he is like in a studio where there's like so many pieces, so many collector items, and it seems like that is his thing. So yeah, he does say that actually this has been his lifelong obsession. So the first actual item of this exhibition was a vintage Levi's type 2 jacket, and this, I think every Asian kid can like relate to this, but his mum was actually like, when he bought it and he brought it home, his mum was like totally pissed off. This is his own words from the exhibition, and she couldn't imagine that he bought a jacket with holes in it, and he still got the jacket even today. Everyone experiences when you had the shredded jeans, and like your mom, and actually it wasn't so much my mum, because my mum was like very into rock at that time, moved over to England, but my grandma definitely. Nigo really credits hip-hop from the beginning, and he says that seeing Run DMC changed his entire approach to style. And everyone who knows streetwear, who looks into the culture, this was really the start of where sportswear was aligned with music, and they became like recognized for their style, such as the Flavor Flav with the signature clock pendant, which he has. He has the Kangol bucket. He also mentions that there was a cult hip-hop clothing label that emerged, including Troop in New York, known for their distinctive leather jacket. So he really connected with Vivienne Westwood because there were certain collections that utilized conventional pieces but actually made those things kind of very unorthodox through the design. So you can see a couple of pieces here that he's got the deep sky blazer and the John Bull hat. And he actually says that Pharrell Williams famously wore a version of the mountain hat designed for the 1982 Nostalgia of Mud collection to the 2014 Grammy Awards. In terms of like the unorthodox designs, I think one of the examples he showed were these polka dot jeans from Vivienne Westwood. So the next thing you see in the collection is magazines. And at an early age, Nigo became aware that actually print media was really powerful and it would go on to define his career. He brought his first copy of the women's fashion magazine Olive for a feature of his favorite band, The Checkers, but was quickly drawn by its fashion content. This discovery sparked his appetite for style. He began reading other titles like Men's Club, a magazine highly influential in introducing American fashion to Japan, and Popeye, one of Japan's longest running men fashion monthlies. Actually, something that I've noticed in some of his pieces in his collection is peanuts, and now I finally have known why. And this is actually a Planters, a snack brand, and they were known for their canned peanuts, and he has this displayed in his room. And it wasn't because of the attachment to the product, it's because it was the actual graphic design that he was completely connected to, and the fact that it was distinctly American. And in the bottom right, the company's mascot, Mr. Peanut, you will see actually is the one who appears repeatedly in Nigo's designs. I think right from the beginning you can see that America had a lot of influence on him growing up, and you can see that a lot of his thrifted clothes were American varsity jackets, band t-shirts and Levi jeans, and he sourced them from stores like Hollywood Ranch Market, a store Robar, and then he would combine them and add items such as like homemade accessories, leather cuffs, and he spent hours curating his look. So he had this kind of his calling right from the beginning. Actually, you can see some pieces in the collection that are very rock and roll, and that was because his girlfriend had introduced him to the Checkers. They're a Japanese pop rock band, and he was really interested in their 1950s American rock look. So now we're coming into the pieces that are connected to him when he went into music, or when he started to go into music. And when he was 16, apparently he saved up for his first set of turntables. He actually chose this specific DJ set because it was a favorite of his hip-hop DJs, allowing like new techniques of scratching. As Nigo could only afford one turntable, he would also borrow his brother's for early mixing experiments. And he was really dreaming of becoming a DJ himself, and he bought record players, radios, boomboxes, amps, mixers, as well as a lot of vintage gear, which you can see from 1950s and 60s. Everything was kind of well organized, and he used his word processor on his desk to type out labels for his cassette tapes, which you'll also see later that he had typed out himself. I actually noticed that he had some really old school equipment, so 1959 vacuum tube TV, a 1960s vacuum tube radio. So this section is actually really important because it was so mad to see these influences much later on in the exhibition, and seeing the work that he had done with Pharrell, with Louis Vuitton, like actually referencing some of these directly. Actually, some of the things you'll notice also influence bape directly. So when we go into the bape section, you have to listen up here because you're going to see exactly how bape was developed. Nigo's collection actually acts as a live toolbox, which he's constantly seeking inspirations. Talked to us a lot about how he's often sampled from these exact pieces to create his own designs. And you can see that from this collection, there'll be rodeo jackets, denim, military surplus, and workwear. And I'm going to go into it a bit more detail. One of the pieces that they highlighted was the McDonald's Hawaiian uniform shirt, and actually they used this for their branches in Hawaii, and it was actually modeled on a classic Hawaiian shirt, and it was designed for McDonald's employees, and instead of the classic kind of floral print, it features McDonald's logos and products, including the kind of arches and the Big Macs. One of the most fascinating pieces of this was actually how much 20th century workwear he had in his collection. And it's really clear what you see like him working on now, that he has been fascinated by these practical garments from the American industrial past for a long time, and this kind of innovative use of material make these pieces a key reference, especially in the human-made label. And this jacket was designed for locomotive crews in 1920s and 30s, and it's incredible that these work caps were made around the same time. And you recognize this, that Nigo wears these hats like almost all the time, and part of his like everyday style. So it was amazing to see like actual like clear references from his past. One of the most rarest pieces of his collection, he calls, is actually the vuitton dungarees, and you're probably thinking, what the hell is that? This is like one of the first overalls to use a zipper rather than hook fasteners, and that's why it's super rare to own a pair. And the winning name, vuitton, is actually a reference to the sound that the zipper makes when it's done up, when it's fastened. Sukajan jackets are also known as souvenir jackets and were originally made for American soldiers following World War II. Early jackets were often made using repurposed kimono fabric or parachute silk, following a kind of varsity jacket style, and they're actually often reversible. They usually combine kind of Japanese-inspired embroidery and military motifs, and by the 1960s, Japanese youth adopted the sukajan as a symbol of rebellion, with films associating the style with gangsters. So yeah, a very charismatic piece. So Nigo actually collaborated with lots of denim brands, and Carhartt jackets were designed to be extremely robust, with big pockets, reinforced stitching and removable buttons. With the introduction of the 101J cowboy jacket in 1934, Lee slimmed down the traditional denim jacket silhouette for a more comfortable fit. This bit was the most exciting. If you're into bape, obviously you're into bape, that's why you're watching this, but if you want to know how bape was born, you want to look at this. So you can see that there's a lot of like army aesthetics, vintage military surplus you can see in this cabinet. But if you see this duck hunter camouflage pattern on this shirt, this is a direct reference for a bathing ape's signature camo print, and it's also known as frogskin camo. The shapes are based on patterns found on hunting apparel, but so I could see the bape logo in the pattern. I'll circle it. And more recently, Nigo's human-made label drew inspiration from the World War II US Air Force jacket, with handwritten names alongside embroidered patches. This piece highlights Nigo's interest not only in an object's form, but also in the personal narratives it preserves. So yeah, you can see like right from the beginning of bape all the way to human-made, it's still inspiring him, and that's really incredible that he's so aware of what his taste is, his culture that he grew up on, and he's made it authentically his, but also giving props and actually sharing the culture that inspired him. I think that's really important. In the 1960s, American varsity jackets became a symbol of freedom for Japanese youth rebelling against a society of extreme conformity. They featured in the Japanese photo book Take Ivy in 1965, which documented the preppy style of an American Ivy League university and formed key part of the amatora aesthetic. Nigo's collection includes very early examples of Ivy style, including a 1935 Clemson Tigers graduation jacket, the red 1940s Grizzly varsity jacket originally worn by cheerleaders, and it inspired one of Nigo's recent human-made designs, which we will see later, so keep an eye out for it. That was really cool. That was like starting off from his teenage years and then going into like his early collections, and really kind of planting the seeds of like what we're going to see later. So now we're going to go into the most exciting parts for me, because I mean, every bit's exciting, but this part for me really looks like his Tokyo studio. And so I was really excited to see what pieces that he would put on the shelf, and what bits of his archive were very like important to him in his journey. So this section will be his archive studio, and he says himself, "My personal archive, which has remained mostly private until now, has been the source of my craftsmanship, mentoring me and being there for me through my creative journey." Grown his archive to almost 10,000 pieces, and you'll see that actually these pieces I'm about to show were curated especially by Nigo himself, and deliberately chosen and personally meaningful and often surprising. These pieces have shaped his craft and approach to design. So this is what he said on display. So one of the first things he highlighted in his archive was 1988 Central St. Martin's School of Art and Bunker Fashion College prospectus. And the reason why he highlighted this was because when he was considering his options after high school, Nigo first looked at London-based St. Martin's as an option, but his parents were really worried about Nigo living really far from him, and instead encouraged him to think of options closer to home. And instead he kind of looked into the prestigious Bunker Fashion College in Tokyo, and that's why we see these two pamphlets side by side. Dotted across the exhibition, you'll see 1980s vintage clothing, and this was really Nigo immersing himself in all the subcultures, including punk and skate. He had collected vintage pieces that would influence him in denim and casual and sportswear. These styles had a clear impact on Nigo's early work for A Bathing Ape in 1990s. On display, we'll see a small selection of accessories, including sportswear by Adidas and Nike, skate and surfwear by Californian brand Jimmy's, and Powell Paralata, and Japanese labels such as Blue Blue and Big Mac. Something that I've noticed in the past was Nigo has always tapped into animals as mascots in most of his brands. One thing on this collection was a decoy duck that was used to lure unassuming ducks into shooting range, but beyond their function, there were also important examples of folk art, blending utility with craftsmanship. Nigo would go on to reinterpret these models as a mascot for his human-made brand, so you will see much later on how he's actually reinterpreted this through his own lens. The other animals you might see here from Nigo's collections, such as the polar bear, lamb, pig, were all created as brand mascots and crafted out of paper mache. In this archive, you'll see much more American workwear. Specifically, his human-made label pays homage to the union-made motif, which was introduced in the early 20th century to signal products made by unionized workers. There's almost like two stems of, like, one was like the kind of military, which turned like the camo patterns, which became bape, and then the other side was this kind of American influences, which much later came out to become human-made. So I'm really excited to explore those pieces later on, make those connections, because I saw that influence much later on, and it was amazing that how he just tapped into different parts of his influence growing up to create his different chapters of creativity. So Buddy Lee dolls from the early 20th century used to model the pioneering zip-fronted Wizit dungarees. So he's actually got the models which are wearing the dungarees to showcase the innovation. This next piece was probably one of the most special pieces in this archive collection, because for me it really summarized his mindset as a teen, and going out and like trying to follow his dreams. At 17, this train pass is actually from 1983, and Nigo at that time had a part-time job in a factory that made headphones for Sony. Using his young person's train pass, he would travel into Tokyo to attend shifts, lying to his mother about where he was actually going. He then used his paycheck to thrift vintage clothes and buy records and magazines on the weekends. So we've all been there. And I love that, Nigo's really showing this part of his childhood. And you'll see now in the next section, like, that really propelled him into who he was, and he was able to meet the right people and be in the right place and develop his brand. So this is a really important point of his journey. Some other personal pieces in this collection is his notebooks from the 1980s, and you could see, like, even during school hours, Nigo's mind was consumed with fashion. He would sketch outfit ideas in the margins of his workbooks, and he also made a list of all the clothing stores in Tokyo he wanted to visit on the weekends, and he would actually draw like a map to help him find them. So part of his interest in American brands, or Americana he calls it, comes from actually the really distinctive designs of logos and the cartoon characters. That's the reason why he was really connected. Originally created in 1950, you see that he highlighted the comic strip Peanuts because it gained popularity around 1960s in Japan, and it was instantly recognizable with the character Snoopy, and is now moved beyond the comic strip and has become a lifestyle brand and a celebrity in his own right. And although we started off at his like teenage bedroom, he actually began collecting from the age of 5 years old, and one of the first things he bought was actually a Donald Duck push puppet from the 1976. And he had bought a lucky bag from a stationery store with the last 500 yen he had, and Donald Duck was in it, and he said, I had never touched anything from a foreign country before, so it looked really cool. It's been over 40 years and I still have it in my atelier. So this is some of the toys that were a starting point for Nigo's kind of creativity as a child, and it really starts kind of your tangible kind of senses, like how you interact with objects, how you read objects. And here you can see mostly Japanese figures from toys and games, mainly from 1960s and 80s, and then makers such as like Takara, Asta, Iwako, based on these kind of TV superheroes and American car designs. They show, like, between all of those, they show like all this inspiration and color, material, function and form. So you can really see like why he's almost pop art for me. Like he's really getting into this with the mix of colors and really bright kind of bright like graphics, and he was really being influenced by the pop art culture, and that really has come from all the color and materials he's been influenced by from a very young age. I really wanted to understand like where did building Bape come from, because Bape was such a big movement and a huge brand universe. This writing on his archive where he talked about Star Wars and Planet of the Apes and how it allowed him to explore these sci-fi worlds and, you know, build a universal kind of themes and characters and distinct graphic language. And these films really, as he mentions, formed a blueprint for Nigo, where he was able to create Bathing Ape, which felt like their own universe. So like it's amazing to see like his collection of the Star Wars figures, but also like to understand a little bit where did he get that from. When we go into the Bathing Ape section, it's going to be so playful and so exciting. Like I don't even think people today, I think people have attempted to do that, but I think the fact that he did it so early on, you'll see that when we get to that section. And you'll know what I mean. This entire section blew my mind because he had done so much work like in his early days, and you'll see that in his first store that he opened in 1993 called Nowhere. And he was, after he moved to Tokyo in 1988, he says that he was quickly immersed in this underground culture. In this whole section, you're going to see that how he has reshaped fashion through his limited drops, through high profile collaborations, lifestyle ventures, and how he broke down the barriers between streetwear and luxury in his own way. On display, we see the exact bags, and we see the sign, the hanger, and the packaging for Nowhere. These signs are literally from like 1993, 1994. So you're probably thinking, well, you know, why is Nowhere really important to this journey? It's because we're about to go into the most exciting chapter that most people know, which is the dawn of the Bathing Ape. In 1993, the first time he opened Nowhere, he actually introduced a clothing line, a Bathing Ape, often abbreviated as Bape. In this section, we're gonna see some really old school stuff, original like tech packs. We're gonna see like his original like product. Like I was shook when I saw this. I was like, I can't believe I'm seeing this with my own two eyes. So guys, you're gonna love it. So I'm about to drop you on some amazing names that you need to know. So Hiroshi Fujiwara is widely considered as the godfather of the ura-hara scene. Having traveled to London and New York in the early 1980s, he returned to Tokyo with the first crate of hip-hop records to enter Japan, and soon he began DJing in nightclubs. Fujiwara was incredibly important because he formed the hip-hop duo Tiny Punks, originally Teeny Punks, with Takahashi, combining Japanese rap with samples of American funk and British ska. Together, they wrote a column for the youth culture magazine Takarajima, titled after their track, Last Orgy. It reported on punk, hip-hop, DJing, skate culture, film, and fashion. And the magazines you're about to see is stunning, like so beautiful. So some of the pieces you'll see here is a Last Orgy column from 1989, and this was actually from Hiroshi Fujiwara and Takahashi. There's Tiny Punk's Last Orgy Change All stickers from 1988. There's Tiny Punk's Last Orgy 1988 vinyl card. There's a cap signed by Hiroshi Fujiwara, oh my god, which is literally a Stussy hat as well. So this is really important because at the beginning I mentioned that the magazines and print media was a really big influence in Nigo's teenage years, and this is exactly why it was really important when Nigo met Hiroshi Fujiwara, because Nigo hung on to every word that Fujiwara said in his Last Orgy column, which fed his appetite for hip-hop culture. He went to see Fujiwara DJ in his hometown of Maebashi in 1987 and asked him to sign his cap and t-shirt, which we'll see here. When Nigo moved to Tokyo, his resemblance to his hero earned him the nickname Fujiwara Hiroshi Nigo, Hiroshi Fujiwara No. 2, shortened to Tugo, then Nigo. He became Fujiwara's friend and assistant, so now we know where we got his name, Nigo. So he was literally working with his hero, and the pair DJed together, so now he's actually doing what he dreamed of. And then they DJed together at Nigo's first club night, which is like iconic because, you know, we know that he wanted to be a DJ from a very young age, and now he's actually DJing with his hero in his first club night. We'll also see in this collection is a Mont Blanc pen, which was a gift from Hiroshi to Nigo, who aspired to be a fashion editor at that time. Seeing how Hiroshi Fujiwara was leading the column, he now wants to be a fashion editor. So now we're going to see Nigo's work at Bunker Fashion, which I showed the pamphlet of earlier. So in 1988, Nigo moved to Tokyo to study fashion editorial at Bunker Fashion College. So he actually got into the very prestigious college and hoping to work in media like his hero, Hiroshi Fujiwara. Bunker's past attendees include designers like Kenzo Takada, founder of Kenzo, Yoji Yamamoto. This is the most iconic college to go to. So Nigo scarcely went to class, however. He instead was DJing in nightclubs. He was working as a stylist, writing for youth culture magazines, and at Bunker's fashion club, he met fellow student Jun Takahashi. He would become his most important early collaborator. In this section of the exhibition, you'll see like actual Nigo's drawings, his design drawings from 1989. You'll see his camera, you'll see some photographs and negatives from that same year. And actually there's a photograph of Nigo and Jun Takahashi. Look at these spreads, like the graphic design is so iconic. You definitely see like some bands doing it now, like across Asia, like really bringing back this era of graphics. Because of the love of music and fashion, he really got along with his university classmate Jun Takahashi, and he began writing a column in Takarajima, which is like amazing. Like that was his magazine that he grew up reading. It was instantly titled A to Z, and it was soon renamed Last Orgy 2 in homage to Hiroshi Fujiwara and Kan Takaji's early column in the same magazine. And like his predecessor, it shared cult fashion items, DJ gear, pop culture, punk and hip-hop influences. Nigo and Takahashi began making Last Orgy 2 clothing and promoting it in the column alongside their DJ gigs. So it was all intentional, and it was connected to the research they're doing and the work they're doing and the culture that they're living and breathing. It was so authentic to them, and that's what I really love. It was a natural extension of the work they're already doing. And that's why in 1993 they used this column to announce the opening of Nowhere. I can't believe we're seeing the actual, like, the two columns, the A to Z and the Last Orgy 2 columns, and then the Last Orgy 2 clothing and tech packs. Like, what the hell? We've got the actual tech packs, and then we've got the rings and the lanyards that they designed. So they put so much like so much of their early stuff. It's amazing to see the design process right onto the actual like final output here. Now we're learning a bit more about the Nowhere shop. So now that it's actually been announced, Nowhere on the 1st April 1993, Nigo and Jun Takahashi opened up Nowhere. Divided by a mesh fence, the shop initially sold Takahashi's fashion label, Undercover. So that's where Undercover came from. It was actually Takahashi's label. And on one side, a selection of Nigo's favorite American sportwear brands on the other. Like, how iconic. Like, I wish I could go there. But it makes sense why he felt like he could start his own, because not only did he own the shop with Takahashi, but it felt like the most natural next step. If you want to know where Nowhere came from, it actually references the Beatles' Nowhere Man, but also offers a pun on Now Here, which follows a DIY spirit. Logos were hand stamped into bags and boxes. The clothing hanger, however, with this printed inlaid wood, shows an eye for quality. I mean, here, like already in the collection, you can see like how much they're really trying to like personalize and customize the customer experience. Like they have these kind of monthly schedule, and like probably like the earliest like customer loyalty marketing ploys you've seen, and this was done back in 1993. So guys, if they're doing it back in 93, we got to be doing it now, you know what I mean? So actually after opening, only a few months of trading, you see a photo here of like a cabin-like shop. So they actually went under like renovation just after a few months of like trading in November 1993, and it became like this like wooden clad exterior, and it became like, it was known as like the cabin shop. And having sold American sportswear and Last Orgy 2 merchandise in the shop's first iteration, Nigo resolved to launch his own label upon reopening. Issue 17 of Last Orgy 2 column announced the reopening of Nowhere. It also featured an early appearance in print of Nigo's new brand, A Bathing Ape in Lukewarm Water. So that's the full name, guys. So the first name of A Bathing Ape was A Bathing Ape in Lukewarm Water, and we're going to be told exactly why it had that full name. It was literally the launch of bape. So before we get into the bape world, nowhere anniversary boxes. So I kind of wanted to keep this to myself, but I'm not gonna, I'm gonna share it. This is really important. Like, this is the stuff that, you know, I would work with clients and say, like, how do you get people excited by being with your brand like year on year, and how do you make it something that's collectible, that's exciting, and that's something that they want to share? Nowhere was actually doing this like years ago, like years. So for their anniversaries every year, they were already aware of the shop's cultural impact. So they contained not only like books, but also like t-shirts, flyers, toys, and stickers. And the second anniversary's book cover was a Polaroid portrait of various collaborators. And it showed really the shop's role as a hub for like the ura-hara scene. And they had amazing creative packaging. Like, literally the shop's 3rd and 5th anniversary boxes were like in a paint box, or in such like interesting formats that it would really become like nigo's trademark in this playful and humor approach to design that we're now connecting the dots with from his archives. You'll see the first ever t-shirt designs for a bathing ape from 1993. You'll see the actual last orgy issue 17 that was that launched Bape and the new Nowhere store. Here in this section you'll see the anniversary books from 2nd, 3rd, and 5th from 1995, 6, and 8. So I wanted to share more about the ura-hara scene. So in 1991, the reason why the scene came to life was because the Japanese stock market actually crashed and Harajuku emptied out like as businesses folded. And in its back streets known as the ura-harajuku, a hip-hop and skate culture influenced scene emerged. So now we're in the Bape era. So we're going to go into one of his oldest archive pieces. We're going to be looking at the first logo, the first sketches, and the first like tech pack. For the earliest Bape logo designs, Nigo in 1993 met graphic designer Skate Thing Nakamura through Tokyo's tight-knit creative scene. They quickly bonded over design, music, and late-night marathons of Planet of the Apes. Fueled by one all-nighter session, they shaped a bathing ape's early identity. Taking inspiration from the sci-fi classic, initial logo design showed a woman in a bathtub alongside the brand's original name, a bathing ape in lukewarm water, which references a Japanese proverb mocking overindulgent youth. This was later shortened to a bathing ape. Before we carry on going, I just want to say thank you so much for the new subscribers that have joined the channel. I really appreciate you guys. Like, I just want to say thank you because it motivates me to keep going and keep putting out stuff. Like, this is a completely new young channel. Everything's edited and researched by me, and yeah, I'm just really thankful for your support. And yeah, I look forward to like chatting to you guys and yeah, getting to know you more. This will be the place where I always share what I'm up to. So thank you so much for being on this journey and supporting me, and I'm so excited for the future. We see some amazing items from the early Bape era. So these are like from 1995. You have the first order sheets, you have a jacket from 1993, you have like a cushion, you have the early Rolodex cards and stickers, and you have the ape head rings, which I absolutely loved. I really want an ape head ring. Like, how iconic. Looking at the tech pack, you can see like how scarce like the order was. Literally, they only ordered 5 of each item. Like, oh my god, I'm ordering 50. It was the start of like Bape being something that it wasn't easy to access, it wasn't easy to like own, and that's what really like built on the hype of the brand. From the beginning, as I mentioned, Bathing Ape's debut collection was literally such a small collection of t-shirts and shell jackets. So small, in fact, only 5 of each item was ordered. So as I mentioned, you can see on the tech pack there's only 5 items, and they were ordered from the manufacturer and available in their Nowhere store. There were multiple reasons for this. While Nigo started out on a really tight budget, he also disliked the idea of everyone wearing the same things. He knew that he could get his items out and people would buy them at the shops. And Nigo's decision actually was really smart, because obviously now we know that it made him incredibly successful, but he also cemented his new brand as one to watch. So just like his earlier pieces from his teenage room, most of his vintage pieces were DIY'd. Even in the early Bape fashion pieces, most of the products were DIY'd to save on costs, so printed on existing t-shirts and sweatshirts. The ape head logo appeared front and center, setting the tone for the brand's graphic heavy approach. The uncomplicated two-tone design lent itself well to the process of screen printing, and Nigo himself printed around 50 shirts per week, contributing to the product rarity. As the popularity of the brand grew, Nigo introduced new designs, including cargo trousers, knitwear, puffer, and varsity jackets, which really leans into like his original pieces that I had shown in earlier in the exhibition. You have t-shirts and sweatshirts from the mid-1990s. You have the early varsity jackets. You have ape head knitted sweatwear. These are all like 1995, mid-1990s shirts and sweatshirts, the earliest designs of a bathing ape. So the most interesting thing about bape is the camo pattern. So when did the camo pattern come about, and how did it come about, and why? Nigo wanted his brand to have its own distinctive pattern, like Louis Vuitton's monogram, and camo was really the answer. So the first camo was created in 1996 as the first of many original camouflage patterns. The print featured a reimagined cloud camo pattern in an olive colorway with a distorted ape head, an adaptation of the US Marine duck hunter pattern, which I showed you earlier. In various iterations, the print has covered everything from trainers, toilet paper, stationery, to mid-century furniture and vintage cars. So as you guys know, that we had seen this beginning at the first part of the exhibition, and it's so clear where the influence came from. And so you can't talk about the bape camo without talking about B.I.G. So Notorious B.I.G. catapulted Bape's camo print to global fame because actually on a shoot in 1996, so Biggie actually spotted this camo jacket on his photographer Sean and chose to drape it over his shoulders. So Biggie was keen to learn like who was the designer and who made these pieces. So actually the photographer was a friend of Nigo's and got him to and introduced them to each other. And this is probably the saddest bit of it all, was that the fact that Nigo made custom pieces for him, but it failed to reach them on time. Died in 1997. He's an icon, and especially in fashion. And I'm going to show you the glasses I have, because I got these glasses because, you know, when you first start understanding or learning about music growing up, like these are the OG. These are my favorite frames. And this was a remake of, these glasses were a remake of that collection that Biggie had worn. So I absolutely love these glasses, and I got them for Biggie because when I was a kid, I wanted to have those glasses because they were iconic in the music videos, and I only wear them on special days. So here you'll see the Bape camo jacket. You'll have the photo of Biggie wearing the Bape camo jacket, the first camo shirt from 1996, and you'll also see Bape's camo lounge chair card, Bape case pencils from the 2000s. So you'll see like loads of pieces kind of branded with that camo print to show like how much of an impact Bape had during that time when it came out. You have the camo pattern swatch, you have a Bape camo beige lookbook, and then you also have the Bape camo McDonald's cards. So now moving into the kind of innovative formats, the most like novelty items of Bape. So in the mid-1990s, a bathing ape expanded its first new stores in Tokyo, and also in the launch of their stores, they did not play it safe. So they did it in a completely like cool way, in the most Nigo way. They actually opened stores discreetly. So they were secret shops that were illustrated in this ape map. So, oh my god, everything they do is like so cool and so innovative and so different. This is like something that they will tell you not to do. Like you have to know where the store is. You have to know so you can, you know, get your customers in. But they did the absolute opposite, which actually drove more demand. And they opened the stores in a secret area with secret shops, and you'd only like know them if they were illustrated in this ape map. And Nigo experimented with really playful packaging, and you will see that from his like nowhere era, where they were playing with like kind of clothes and paint tins and toy boxes. And he continued this. In 1996, the collection was photographed using the now obsolete APS film for the autumn winter 1997, and was published on a 35mm photographic slide as an accompanying viewfinder. And already it's an experience. So he sold t-shirts, now not in paint tons, but he compressed them into custom shapes using a hydraulic pump. A collaboration with American street artists Stash and Future was packaged in containers resembling spray cans. Post, meanwhile, was sent out in FedEx inspired boxes and envelopes. Like, that was so, like, yeah, so cool. Yeah, I don't have to say anything. Like, that's iconic. I actually said this. So earlier I said I felt that there was a lot of like Warhol pop art influence in his work. So actually it says here that Andy Warhol was one of his biggest artistic influences, and the artist blurred the line between art and commerce with his exploration of mid-century American consumer culture. In 2000, A Bathing Ape released the first in series of Warhol-themed products, the limited edition t-shirt which referenced Warhol's famous painting of a Campbell's soup can, and it used silkscreen printing, a medium Warhol pioneer. Iconic that he used the actual technique that Warhol had used. And just to take it that step further, he put it in a soup can inspired tin. So he just went the whole way. Like, it's not just from the graphics, it's not from the t-shirt. He uses the technique, the design, the actual like packaging, everything is inspired, which makes it a whole lot exciting. So in this section you'll see Bape Mania issue 1 and 2, and 2 came with a compressed t-shirt, Bape Mania collection cards. He's got this Bape paper, he's got the Andy Warhol actual soup can t-shirt and tin here. He's got the banana cushion, which is inspired by Andy Warhol, and actually it was made with the Andy Warhol foundation. You'll see the Bape X clock from 2002. You'll have the ape map of Harajuku, which is the famous stores I said that were discreetly hidden and purposely hidden. Only if you had this ape map that you could find the Bape stores. The concept secret shop business card, Bape sponges, APS invitation, viewfinder invitation, stash and future spray can, and the FedEx inspired envelopes. I know now we see like a lot of brands like really pushing the envelope literally of like what the invitation looks like, but this has been done since like literally 1996, 1997. OGs who were the first to innovate in this space, and to honor them and to really celebrate their thinking and their mind and their approach, because that's why we are on this level today. So as Bape grew, so did Nigo's profile. This 99 magazine cover was the first of many. Founded in Tokyo in 1996 by American expats, Tokyo bridged the gaps between Japanese and Western culture. Nigo was a regular contributor and subject. Sporting a Beatles haircut and wielding a lightsaber, Nigo nods to his long-standing fascination with pop culture. This is the number 10 Dreams issue. So I mentioned some magazines in the collection that are actually from Bape, and Bape Mania was Bape's in-house magazine, launching alongside seasonal collection. The first issue, released in 1999, was a 200-page book featuring an interview with Nigo, backstage shots from the worldwide Ape Heads concerts, and a fashion shoot with models wearing ape head masks. Starting with Bape Mania 2, which came with a compressed t-shirt, a postcard pack was issued to showcase each collection as it dropped. He always kept that with him whatever like project or collection he launched. He always launched a written piece with it to really share the story and tell the work behind the collection, really bringing people on the journey. As we know that Nigo was really heavily inspired by Vivienne Westwood and the punk aesthetic. So finally in 2002, A Bathing Ape opened in London, and its first ever London store. And it actually was its first expansion outside of Japan. Bape products had until then been extremely hard to find in the UK and only stocked in stores like Gimme 5 and Slam City Skates. Nigo introduced Very Ape. So for his UK launch, he actually created a UK diffusion line, incorporating British iconography into shirts, and in really limited quantities in the classic Nigo style. The launch brought hype and excitement to London as fans queued for hours to get their hands on new limited releases. It's when I used to go and try to fight for the one piece of collection, and recently I did that was in Dubai when I got some Cactus Jacks, and it was literally the first batch that had launched, and not even the store knew, and I was able to get my hands on a pair of Cactus Jacks at retail price. So guys, I should probably show you one day, but not today. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you want me to show you. But yeah, that kind of reminds me, there's nothing more satisfying than going to somewhere and knowing that something's really rare and hard to get and getting it. And that was always my dream as a kid. Like, I used to always get like, I used to work at Tesco because my mom was like, I don't have money to fund your trainer obsession now, your sneaker obsession. So you need to go work at Tesco's. And I used to save up my money and go to Foot Locker or JD and line up and wait for the Jordans to drop. So I'm still the same. Like, when you obtain objects that are so hard to get, it's so satisfying. And that's the same for like why I love vintage and why I love thrifting clothes. Like, every time I get that, I'm like, yes. Pieces in this section, you have the Very Ape UK t-shirt from 1998. You have a Union Jack compressed t-shirt from 2002. You've got ape head keyrings from 1995 with Simon Einhorn. You've got the magazine article on Bape London, which was done with the same photographer who introduced Nigo to Biggie for ID. I was so excited to see this because I've never seen this in fact, I've never seen any of these in real life, but this section's all like collaborations. So the first one is Bape with Pepsi. So in 2001, Nigo approached Pepsi to collaborate on limited edition merchandise. This alliance paved the way for future high-profile fashion corporate partnerships. Nigo's vision was to release Pepsi cans plastered with his iconic camo pattern, bringing Bape to a wider consumer base. These cans retailed for less than $1, making them the most affordable Bape item at the time. They became instant collector's items and have since become highly sought after by a community of hardcore Bape fans eager to get their hands on the brand's iconic designs. So the fact that it's really accessible and it's really affordable. Bape's strategy was to always to generate hype and to showcase the breadth of Nigo's visions. So from Carhartt to Adidas to Nintendo, Daft Punk, DC Comics, Disney, Hello Kitty, MAC Cosmetics and Star Wars, they're among the many names that have teamed up with the brand in the past. Based on the collabs I just mentioned, you'll see the actual Mickey Mouse plush toy, see the Baby Milo and Mario DS Lite. We have the G-Shock watch, and we have a makeup bag, lip conditioner and blot film done with MAC Cosmetics. We have the bathing ape and Daiwa fishing tools here, so they actually call it a fishing ape, fishing reels and lures. We've got the baseball cap done with Stussy, we've got the box logo t-shirt done with Supreme, we've got the camo Pepsi cans, and we've got the Pepsi bottle tops. So probably one of the most iconic pieces of Bape are the shark hoodies, and they were introduced in 2004 and it became one of Bape's most instantly recognizable designs. The iconic shark face motif is inspired by the nose art of World War II fighter planes, and particularly of those flown by American and Chinese flying tigers. Nigo also created playful variations such as panda hoodies. No matter the animal, the full zip hoodie allows the wearer to fully disappear into the design. Guys, I've always wanted to own a pair of Bape crepes, but I've never been able to own one. It's too hard. Modeled on Nike Air's Air Force One, a classic 1980s basketball shoe, the design replaces a swoosh with a shooting style motif. The trainer was produced in many creative colorways using unusual materials including patent leather, snakeskin fabric and ostrich leather. Limited editions and collabs with musicians, artists and brands elevated the shoe to a luxury object and it became a collector's item. Chompers with the playful tooth graphics are one of Nigo's many collaboration with artist Kaws, and someone that actually works a lot with Pusha T and Pharrell. They're always working together with like the album covers and stuff. So I also believe that Kaws did an installation for a hotel that Pharrell did recently, so I'll put it here if I find it. I mentioned that Baby Milo was specifically designed for a different audience, so he talks a little bit about it under Bape Kids. So Baby Milo was created in 1999 for Bape Kids, and Baby Milo was based on a character from the 1971 film Escape from the Planet Apes. Illustrated in a kid-friendly blocky style, the mascot has been put on everything from t-shirts to soft toys and accessories. Design studio Wonderwall brought the characters to life in Bape Kids stores through giant statues and playful experiences, including a swimming pool filled with foam Baby Milo branded bananas. I mean, iconic. Even his retail stores are iconic. I can't wait to show you guys them. Over the years, Baby Milo has had many collaborations with the likes of Hello Kitty, Fendi and Chrome Hearts. So here you'll see photos of the Baby Milo store in Tokyo that I mentioned, the Bape Kids store in Tokyo, watch and pouch, the Bape Kids store banana, and you have the toothbrushes. In the same section, Nigo actually created the Mr. Bathing Ape tailoring line in 2011 for Bape's loyal customers in search for a more mature look. So that's why we see the jacket, the suit and tie, and the Bape style brogues. And key inspirations included Nigo's archive of Vivienne Westwood's Red Label, his own suits from Savile Row. So produced entirely in Japan through a collaboration with United Arrows, the line completely embraced the trademark Bape and novelty, and like the camo print scarves and ties, these hybrids of brogue, shoes and Bape style trying to capture Nigo's approach to the formal Western wardrobe. The women of Bape. So women have long been fans of Bape. They actually favoured the more slouchy fits. So Nigo collaborated with Bape in 2001, especially with his female customers in mind. Inspired by Japanese and Parisian styles, the line blended 1990s with tailoring. AP actually launched in 2006, however, as a more affordable line aimed at a younger market. So you might be thinking like me, like, when did he meet Pharrell? Because he's clearly so busy and everywhere. So for me, I was really like interested, like, when's Pharrell going to come into the picture? And like, obviously I've been listening to Pharrell since I was a kid. So it was really exciting to like, you know, see when this moment happened, because the fashion of that era, chains, t-shirts, like it was such a vibe. Like I remember still the Pharrell fronting music video. I'm now going to tell you how they met. In the early 2000s, Nigo became an avid jewelry collector, and he commissioned New York designer Jacob the jeweler to make pieces inspired by his vintage collection, such as the diamond encrusted keychain. Nigo had also asked Jacob to remake pieces he had seen Pharrell Williams wearing. Struck by the pair's similar taste, Jacob arranged for Nigo and Pharrell to meet, and this actually sparked a decade-long friendship and creative partnership. And guys, they literally have the diamond keychain from 2003 by Jacob & Co. in this cabinet. So I'm glad I talked about fronting, because in 2003, Nigo and Pharrell launched their fashion label Billionaire Boyz Club, debuting its designs in the music video for Pharrell's fronting. Drawing heavily on skate culture, the label offers casual menswear classics like jackets, sweaters, and denim, all manufactured in Japan. The following year, they added a sneaker line, Ice Cream, inspired by Nigo's love of classic American advertising. Its shoeboxes were designed to look like ice cream tubs. A flagship store for both brands opened in Tokyo in 2005. I'm telling you, Nigo keeps on going. He just keeps creating, and he has not stopped. Like, it's amazing how much creativity he had, and like how much it ties back to his archive pieces we went through, like his love for like American graphics, American pop art. And yeah, we were seeing it now, like every single era he has actually manifested and brought to life. So he didn't leave anything unturned. I really remembered when everyone owned one, but I don't know. I think we had some fake ones because we were all kids, so I don't know. In the collection, we have a puffer jacket from 2007 for Billionaire Boyz Club, and we've got the Billionaire Boyz Club and Ice Cream flagship in Tokyo. And then you've got a couple of videos of Pharrell, and then especially the music video. You've got the Reebok and Ice Cream collab called Diamond and Dollar Sneakers in a Box. You've got the Nigo and Pharrell at the grand opening of the Billionaire Boyz Club and Ice Cream flagship in Tokyo, which was in 2005. So actually in 1998, Nigo moved the newly renamed Nowhere, which was in brackets busy workshop, from the kind of youth scene of Harajuku to Aoyama, which was much more luxury shopping district. Interior designer Masamichi Katayama brought Nigo's vision to life, and he completely redefined the shopping experience for a new era. And Katayama founded pioneering studio Wonderwall, which designed 60 Bathing Ape stores worldwide. So there was a really great relationship there. And these stores were characterized by their space age feel, fluorescent lighting within stainless steel counters, elevated products into works of art, while playful touches like a conveyor belt showcased the trainers, which created like a sense of wonder. So as I said, like his stores have always been a playground. It's always been a piece of art in itself and a piece of discovery. Like some of the pieces were put in like cake counters. Like it was amazing to see these retail stores. They're old school like PlayStation stores, and just retail in that era was just so amazing. Cyber culture, like the blues, the sci-fi, the extremeness of it, and the expressiveness of it. Having lived in South Korea and working in Japan for like half a decade, I always felt like retail was way ahead of its time. And even today you see the likes of like Gentle Monster doing like really big like iconic pieces. But like for me, like doing a creative brand, the most exciting thing for me is being able one day to dream to have like a space, and I will love to have it like feel like a brand universe. The world I'm building right now, I'd love to bring it to life into this like 3D playground element, because this is something that has always excited me as a designer. Here we have the Aoyama store opening invite from 1999 for Nowhere, and then we've got the images of the A Bathing Ape store in Aoyama from 2005. This section was pretty heartbreaking because I didn't know he actually did this, and I was so confused when I read this this board, because it was named like the death of Nigo, and I was like, what? Like, why would you say that? But when I read into it, there was a reason why. And in 2013, Nigo stepped down from A Bathing Ape after 20 years leading the brand. Having sold his stake in the brand in 2010, he announced his departure in a blog post, sharing an image of this painting with the caption, "Bape General Nigo." 1993 to 2013. It is said that the first Tokugawa shogun, Ieyasu (1543–1616), commissioned a portrait of himself after suffering his greatest military defeat. He would carry it around to remind himself not to commit the same mistakes. Nigo had stated that this painting acts in a similar way for him, encouraging self-reflection and personal growth. You'll see that he recreated the sentiment of this with Kaws. So he commissioned Kaws to do a painting, The Death of Nigo, in 2004. This was also the first ever time I've seen a Kaws painting in real life. So it was incredible to look up close, and it makes me think back to all the like covers he's done and just how beautiful those original artworks must be. If you're a fan of Teriyaki Boyz and love the work that Nigo did in the music world, then you probably want to stay for this next section. He has been busy, guys. Like, he literally opened art galleries, a cafe, a hair salon, a curry restaurant, and hosted a tour of pro wrestling events. So Nigo's approach to design is like, it's, let's just say, crazy, man. And how it's inseparable for his love for music. As I mentioned, like in his early days, he was there out with the DJs. That was very much like equally important in his upcoming. In the 1990s, he actually started styling his favorite artists in his designs and formed bands and set up a record label. By the 2000s, he had built a global community of fans through his work as a producer and collaborating with world famous music acts. And as you know, Teriyaki Boyz was a huge part of it. But there's actually a lot of other bands that are going to be shown in this section. So Nigo actually brought together his international network of musicians in 1990s, and he held a series of live concerts. So worldwide Ape Heads in 1997 and worldwide Bape Heads in 1998. And music events have always been a core of him, but it became a core part of his brand universe, and he hosted it to celebrate anniversaries for Nowhere and Bape throughout the 1990s and 2000s, with guests including Nerd and Teriyaki Boyz. You'll see the worldwide Ape Heads t-shirt, the worldwide Bape Heads t-shirt, and you'll see the merch and the flyers for these events, and then you also see the anniversary event flyer for the Nowhere 6th anniversary. So what was really innovative about Nigo's retail strategy was that there was always a reason for people to come visit the space. And he did this in the form of like art galleries and exhibitions. So Nigo uses retail spaces to champion his favorite artists, and which actually led to him creating a dedicated gallery. Bape Gallery showcased internationally renowned artists like Kaws, Sukwon, Hajime Soriyama, Stash, and Futura. Nigo also opened gallery spaces in Tokyo, Beijing, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. He's been incredibly successful, enlisting interior design firm Wonderwall to carry over his sleek retail aesthetic. The action figurines represent Futura, Nigo, and Mowax Records founder James Lavelle. They were launched at Stash and Futura's Command Z exhibition at Nowhere in 2000. You opened like 4 galleries around Asia, like, as well as building a brand. I swear I always felt like I wanted to do too much, and then I look at someone like Nigo and I feel like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Somehow for him, they all connected through his vision, through his taste, and yeah, through his brand, and it just makes sense for him. You'll see the Sukwon photo exhibition booklet and t-shirt. So again, he is like still driving fashion through the gallery. The Milo Warlords t-shirt signed by Nigo, spray can figurines. So you can still see these like kind of archetypes that keep coming up. And so if you looked at my last video, you'll see that I actually talked a little bit about the Japan Pro Wrestling, because it was used as an inspiration for the Bully rollout. So Nigo actually, around 2002, he partnered with All Japan Pro Wrestling on wrestling events, and contestants entered a Bape camo ring and wearing Bape t-shirts to the sound of Nigo's music, and it was an all-encompassing stage for him to bring all his elements that he's been working on, from the music to the fashion, and really bringing that into the sports world. And the video shows footage from Tokyo Zepp Arena where Nigo joined actually legendary wrestler Keiji Muta in the commenter box. And in 2010, Nigo actually created his own wrestling character, Ape Gon, who wore a grey camo bodysuit. Wrestlers could also make one-off appearances as characters from Nigo's universe, like the monkey-themed Super Milo and Ape Man. So it was super smart for him to build out his characters and connect it back to Bape. So we see that he's already been like into figurines as a kid and figures. So he actually created wrestling figures in 2004 with All Japan Pro Wrestling. So in this collection, we also see the figures, wrestling figures, famous wrestling figures from All Japan Pro Wrestling Co. An Ape Gon figure, Bathing Ape. This was absolutely fire. The Bape Star Pro Wrestling Champion belt from 2002. to 5, and some wrestling masks from 2003. So I mean, there is a reason why Nigo is a legend, and this is exactly why. He will do collabs that make sense, and he will make it make sense, and he will make it the most of those collabs in his own way, not just from one element like music, but he would always bring his different universes and worlds and crafts into one space. So you'll see that actually they've got Baby Milo collab t-shirts, and actually they had playing the Bape Pro wrestling footage, so you'll see like photos from the pro wrestling match, you'll see them in the Bape clothes. It's so iconic. So in the next section is all his work in food and dining. So in 2002, Nigo brought together two of his passions, dining and design, to create a fully immersive brand experience, Bape Cafe. You'll see recognizable themes from Nigo's design universe, where supersized furniture, including tables and lamps in the shape of ape heads, and camo upholstered chairs. These branding codes carry through to smaller items such as ice cream sundae glasses, beer, and even candy. The menu reflected Nigo's culinary influences, including both Japanese and American comfort foods. In this section, he's showing the Bape Cafe sundae glass. He's got the Bape beer, which is like actually branded on the Bape. It's so cool. Bape candy tin, Bape Cafe stickers and drink tickets, and Bape Cafe hand towel. I mean, he's really building out his brand in every possible way. Guys, did you know that literally Nigo had a curry shop called Curry Up, and it was inspired by Nigo's time spent working at Ghee? And mad respect, because he actually worked at an Indian eatery and learned a lot from there. Ghee was a small but popular Indian eatery while he was still a student, and he was working there, and it was the first restaurant that opened in Harajuku in 2010. And Nigo wanted to recreate this like warm and inviting space that brought people together through food. You know, Indian food is designed to bring us like together. Nigo wanted to recreate a warm and inviting space that brought people together through food, and the recipes and presentation style was also an ode to Ghee, with two different types of curries. So he actually did Japanese and Indian curries, and notable collaborators included Pharrell, who penned the restaurant name, Wonderwall, who designed the interiors, and Japanese artist Tetsu Nishiyama, who created its logos. That means I don't have to choose between, you know, Indian curry or Japanese curry. I can enjoy both. So this was a great idea. So the photos you see here is Nigo in front of Ghee in the 1990s, and you have the sauce sachet for Curry Up from 2023. You have a food model from 2021. If you've been to Japan, you know their food models like hit. It's so beautiful and so accurate, and the fact that we can see the food that was actually sold at Curry Up. And then you've got a picture of the exterior of Curry Up in Harajuku from 2010. If you're interested in Nigo's music career, this is the section for you. So Nigo launched his own record label, Ape Sounds, in the late 1990s. An early release came from an ambient musician, Sherry, with artworks by Kaws. So he's been working with Kaws for a very, very long time. In 2004, Nigo created hip-hop super duo Teriyaki boyz. They worked with leading rappers and producers, including Daft Punk, The Neptunes, and DJ Premier. Their soundtrack for the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift has been one of the top 10 internationally streamed songs by Japanese artists for 20 years. Nigo also produced pop-punk girl group Billy Idol from 2015. They offered a playful subversion of Japanese pop idol culture with the slogan, "Not Idols." This section has the most iconic music archive pieces. So you have the Mowax Japan compressed t-shirt and magazine in the classic Nigo style. There always has to be a t-shirt and a magazine. Futura vinyl toy with Mowax and Futura. You've got the James versus Nigo, a bathing ape versus Mowax accompanying stickers. You have the Nigo Assault Volume 2 with Toy Factory Ape Sounds. You have the Uncle Trilogy box sets, the Nigo Ape Sounds and Kung Fu Fighting. You got more stuff from Nigo Ape Sounds, the Nigo Shadow of the Ape Sounds box set and director's cut. Guys, there were so many items under this case, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but one thing you can have a look at is the actual Tokyo Drift signed album cover, like mental, like all the signatures on it. And also one CD that I've always wanted to see, and it was Teriyaki Boyz with Ye, I Still Love Her. It's so beautiful, and he's got his like graduation teddy with the Teriyaki Boyz, and they're all in this car, so it's so fire. It's so fire. I can't believe I got to see that. A huge part of Nigo's evolution is his work done with Kenzo. Nigo's debut collection as an artistic director for Kenzo was a masterclass in reworking archival material. He showed a deep respect for the fashion house's signature codes, incorporating archival flower prints and Kenzo Takada's original sketches from 1970s. The collection highlights Nigo and Takada's shared love for British outdoor staples, including Harris tweeds and mod-style parkas. Nigo has also woven in his personal influences, including preppy styles and acai pottery motifs. The runway show took place at Galerie Vivienne, a covered passage in Paris where Kenzo Takada had his first boutique. There's actually a lot of connections with the birth of Kenzo with Nigo. So Nigo was actually born in the same year the label was founded, and actually the designer who, like Nigo, trained at Bunker Fashion College, became known for his global take on Parisian style, with an eclectic signature of bold prints and relaxed silhouettes inspired by the city's vibrant nightlife and his love for the beauty of the world around him. So in 2021, Nigo was appointed the first Japanese designer since Takada himself to lead their fashion house. So Nigo actually wrote a poem to his wife to commemorate this moment. So in this section we see a picture of Kenzo Takada from 1971. We see Nigo's haiku, which mentioned the poem, and a runway show invitation from 2022 to 25 where Kenzo Paris worked with Nigo. Guys, Nigo is a sweetheart. These are all the postcards that Nigo sent to his wife from 2000s to present day. And as Nigo's career progressed internationally, he traveled a lot, and it became a regular part of his routine. Despite his busy schedule, Nigo always made time to send his wife, who's also an actress, a postcard on every trip abroad. He decorates each one with illustrations based on where he is and what he's been working on. So we're gonna see like very recent postcards also. Such a nice way to bring your loved one on your journey. We got to see some amazing pieces from the actual Kenzo collections made by Nigo, and from the autumn winter 2022 we saw Nigo reimagine Kenzo Takada's iconic poppy print for a new generation. It's super romantic, the florals, it has soft silhouettes, and they were toughened up with this like really masculine kind of tailoring, he says. In what Nigo calls impractical workwear, the baker boy hat and Dr. Martin style shoes are an ode to British design. Fingerless gloves with mitten flaps joined by a string add a playful childlike touch. For the 2023 Kenzo collection, Nigo really tapped into his lifelong love for the Beatles, and the show really took his audience on a journey through British, American and Japanese youth cultures, and he blended elements again of British modern rocker subcultures, punk style subverted tartans to reimagine traditional country wardrobe, and this time it was actually designed in collaboration with Hunter. And look one highlights this merging of influence by juxtaposing Japanese kendo uniforms with American skatewear. So in this next piece, you'll be surprised to know that this collection was inspired by his love for Star Wars and his own childhood memories. Titled Landing in a New World, Nigo's ethereal yet intrepid reinvention of the school uniform embodies this narrative. The blazer and pleated skirt shimmer in silver jacquard woven with red kenzo flowers. A scale-like turtleneck and blood-red leather boots complete this sci-fi heroine look. So these boots were epic. They were so beautiful, and I believe they were actually like full length. The starting point for look 21 from 2025 collection just last year was actually inspired by a fluorescent origami paper Nigo found in a 300-year-old stationery shop in Japan. Nigo incorporated a bamboo-themed motif into the jacket in homage to Kenzo Takada's original 1970s jungle-themed boutique. It's printed onto crinkled material to create a 3D feel. Both pieces are anchored by the dense dark blue hue of soft indigo denim. So the next piece is also from 2025, and it's the autumn winter collection, and here Nigo was really inspired by the train journeys through both urban Paris and rural Japan. It's always the way I travel when I go across Japan, and it's such a beautiful experience. So he actually named this collection the Kenzo Commute, and it merges traditional Japanese tailoring and American inspired denim with fuzzy knitwear. And look 10's oversized kimono collar suit is adorned with a rich coloured paisley motif adapted from the Kenzo archives. Look 17's Japanese silhouettes are contrasted with a reinterpretation of Kenzo flower by Nigo's long-term collaborator Futura, using a spray can effect with an atom logo at its centre. So in the middle section of this exhibition, Nigo's labelled this as archives reworked, and he says in his own words, a lot of things are hidden in the past. I look in that direction to find new things, and we've noticed noticed this now, going, you know, more than halfway through the exhibition now, like how much he really honors and takes inspiration from his personal experiences and his personal archive. So as soon as Nigo sold Bathing Ape, he put himself in Human Made with the motto, "The future is in the past." So you can really tell that he was really ready to start a new chapter. And the heritage-driven brand draws on Nigo's vast fashion archive of classic American denim, workwear, and varsity items, reimagining them with bold graphics and animal mascots. All the things that we've been seeing in his vintage collection, his archive collection. The designs reflect Nigo's commitment to meticulous craftsmanship and interest in traditional techniques. So on display we have memorial jackets from 2018, lightweight flight jackets, denim jackets, which are iconic Nigo style. So Nigo actually says that this is the most one of the most prideful pieces he has, which is the Lubbock High School yearbook signed by music icon Buddy Holly, born Charles Hardin Holly. Nigo used this photo to create retro-style Charlie mannequin heads. In 2010, Nigo modeled his Charlie eyewear collaboration with Effector on Holly's trademark glasses. The mannequin and the glasses were later used to display his vintage collection at the Bunker Costume Museum in 2022. So if you remember from the vintage section, we saw mascots, these sheep kind of statues that were at the bottom of the vintage clothes. So here you have harajuku animals, which he had created these kind of animal mascots for his brand Human Made. And Nigo had developed these lifestyle products to recreate these highly collectible pieces of early 20th century Americana using traditional Japanese techniques. Handmade in Japan, these figures combine vintage American advertising with Japan's long history of crafting papier-mâché figures, or hariko, which are also known as good luck charms. To create hariko figures, fine layers of washi paper are layered over a mold, sealed with a white pigment, and then hand painted. Each of these animals directly reference objects from Nigo's collection, which we've seen some of earlier on. As I've mentioned before, Human Made is a profound expression of Nigo's love of 20th century Americana. Even the logo references the Union Made labels, which we've talked about earlier, found on vintage workwear. The brand's official slogan, "Gears for Futuristic Teenagers," captures a spirit of optimism and nostalgia with hope for the future. Quality Japanese craftsmanship delivers reinterpretations of pieces from Nigo's collection with artful finishes. The intersection between heritage and innovation has resulted in clothing that is both timeless and forward-thinking. Timeless comes from the workmanship and the durability of these materials that he's leaning into. So if you watched this video earlier, you will recognize this jacket. So he actually says that this was a direct reference of the jacket that we saw in the vintage part of his exhibition. So it shows how deeply curated this exhibition is. And he kept the flight jacket inspired silhouette, but gave it a classic animal motif with bears stylized as rocket ships. The embroidery applied over the printed designs creates more depth and texture. As with many original sokajan, the design is reversible to really honor the original piece of garment. So in this section, he also shows his Human Made retail stores. Each of the Human Made's offline stores are an extension of the label's aesthetics. Nigo himself this time designed the interiors for many of these, motivated by a desire to pay respect to the historical and cultural context through a contemporary lens. The Human Made 1928 store is housed in a listed building in Kyoto. It retains the warmth of its original 1920s wooden flooring with added industrial finishes. The Repulse Bay arcade store in Hong Kong, designed by Wonderwall, pairs restored 1920s wood paneling with clean lines and contemporary lighting. So you can see that actually still leaning into the same team, but they're completely reinventing, again, like the clothes, like the same brand approach and the brand value and the brand lens they're using on the clothes, they're using on the retail store. So the spirit feels the same across every kind of channel of the brand. So other pieces in this section, you have more kind of good luck charm hariko figures. Here you have the Mr. Peanut by Human Made, and we know that this has been a massive recurring character in Nigo's work, and it's a mascot for the snack brand Planters, if you remember me saying earlier from his bedroom. And he's been really, like, we can tell, he's mentioned this a couple of times, that he's been really fascinated with vintage American advertising, and this collection is typical of Human Made's reinterpretation of American classics again, but this time with Japanese craftsmanship. This sweatshirt actually uses tsuruyami knitting, which is a method creating a plush and bouncy texture with a soft and airy feel by using a slow, low-tension loop wheel knitting machine. Another piece that was displayed earlier in the exhibition was a stadium jacket completely remodeled built on a 1940s example. It really shows his dedication to respecting the original garment and techniques. He literally sourced materials like deer leather and sheepskin that's rarely used in jackets today to replicate the feel of the original. Other authentic details include the carefully placed stripes in the leather and the ribbed collars and waistband and cuffs. So another project which I had never known of was that Nigo and Pharrell have worked on their own line of sake bottles and barrels named Storm Cowboy, and it actually launched in 2019. So Nigo and Pharrell launched the line of sake. It was actually made at a boutique sake brewery, combining a modern outlook with traditional techniques. It features an eye-catching graphic in the traditional Nigo style and is available in light, middle and heavy and natural pressings. Storm Cowboy won a gold medal at the International Wine Challenge, IWC, in 2020. That's everything they do. They just go gold, you know, they win. It's amazing. It's really beautiful. And this was made under the Humanmade brand. So in this next section, you can see a lot of collabs that were done with Nigo himself as a creative. And as we know, today's reputation, Nigo is known as the trendsetter and has made him one of the most sought out after partners for brands across fashion, music and design. He continues to champion emerging talents and using his platform to nurture the next generation of designers. So this is essentially this section of the exhibition is called the Nigo Effect. So we start off with the amazing pieces from the Louis Vuitton Menswear Autumn Winter 2025 collection done with Pharrell and Nigo. Pharrell, now artistic director of Louis Vuitton Menswear, co-designed this entire collection with Nigo, celebrating 25 years of friendship, and these are the pieces that we're going to see next. Pharrell titled this collection actually Remember the Future to their friendship, stating that it's not looking to be unnecessarily bold for attention. The attention is in the details, he says. So tributes are woven throughout the entire collection, such as silhouettes of their profiles, embroidery of fishing, which refers to a fishing trip they went on, and also for this collection they brought back their longtime collaborator Wonderwall. They actually designed 24 cabinets to sit on the runway that reveal both Nigo and Pharrell's archival objects, just like we've seen today. What's so beautiful about these cabinets is that they were completely hidden during the show, and at the end when they both came out, these cabinets actually came to life and it completely revealed what were inside all 24 cabinets. And this is essentially honoring both of their shared passion of collecting. This piece is Look 56 from the 2025 collection. They say it's unique because of its Japanese silhouettes to create a modern look. The LV monogram flower pattern is seamlessly fused with Japanese shippo weave patterns and sashiko stitching to create the new dandy monogram. I'm actually so excited to see this piece particularly in real life because I was obsessed with the lobster wallet and forming a part of the Look 56, so it was done really beautifully. One of the next pieces they show is a Louis Vuitton 2020 LV2 collection, and in 2020 the late Virgil Abloh, who was artistic director of Louis Vuitton Menswear at that time, called upon Nigo for a unique collaboration. The result was their LV2 capsule collection. Putting their own twist on heritage, they mashed up Savile Row tailoring, English mod styles and Japanese denim. Classic Louis Vuitton patterns were also given the Nigo treatment. The LV made mallard duck is a nod to human-made, while the dripping effect of the bag's LV monogram over a checkerboard pattern references Nigo's former brand ice cream. So we actually got to see the pre-collection Autumn Winter 2020 Virgil Abloh collection made with Nigo. It's such a beautiful piece, and we see the keep-all bag, and we also see on top of the showcase we see the LV made duck. While watching a interview with Pharrell and Marc Jacobs, I learned that actually Pharrell and Nigo had worked with Louis Vuitton way back in the past in 2004, thanks to Marc Jacobs. And in 2004, the Millionaire and Havana and Bolivia sunglasses were part of a capsule collection designed by Nigo and Pharrell with Marc Jacobs, who at that point was creative director of Louis Vuitton. So at that point, it was part of the Louis Vuitton strategy to really enter new markets. Pharrell described the Millionaires as a one part Tony Montana, one part Notorious B.I.G. I mean, these glasses literally scream bling era. The sunglasses were re-released by Pharrell in his new role as men's creative director for Louis Vuitton. So what a great honor to his past collection and his foundations and his beginnings with Louis Vuitton. So we got to see these amazing glasses. They were also on display. We got the Millionaire sunglasses, the Havana and the Bolivia, which was done in collaboration with Pharrell and Nigo when Marc Jacobs was in position. This next piece is the Louis Vuitton 2022 LV2 collection, and there's a quote by Virgil Abloh which says, "For me, there's no one like Nigo." The second collab between them two was released shortly before Abloh's death in November 2021. For this collection, they were really exploring themes they had previously explored, and this collection reinterpreted the dandy for modern times through a bold combination of checkerboard patterns, the traditional English rowing stripes, the Japanese patchwork denim, and this look with its golfing cap and duck motif cardigan takes its cue from vintage preppy style. Human-made animal emblems were intertwined with LV motifs, such as the contemporary twist on the fashion house classic Cockville suitcase. So here in display, you'll see actually the look number 6 from the spring-summer 2022, and you'll also see the Cockville suitcase in monogram stripes canvas. Uniqlo asked Nigo to be its UT line's first ever creative director in 2014, and he really gravitated towards the t-shirt line, and he saw it as an opportunity to really influence what he says is what people really wear on the street, and it was also a chance for him to revisit his childhood characters. Further down the line, in 2017, Nigo tapped into his extensive network, collaborating with longtime creative partner Kaws to reinterpret classic Peanuts and Sesame Street characters. In 2019, Nigo brought in undercovers Jun Takahashi and Tetsu Nishiyama to design t-shirts featuring motifs from Star Wars. In this section, you'll see all the collabs done with Kaws, from the Snoopy plush toy, the Snoopy t-shirts, Sesame Street t-shirts, the Sesame Street stuffed toys, and also the Star Wars t-shirts done with Undercover. So in 2019, Nigo really tapped into collaborating with new emerging brands, and one of them being Cactus Plant Flea Market. In 2019, they designed the We're Good flight jacket, really tapping into those iconic pieces that are part of his collections. Established by designer Cynthia Liu in 2016, the brand was propelled into spotlight after Pharrell himself was spotted wearing it. He was actually approached by Abema, a Japanese streaming service, to design their company logo. And with the spread of smartphones, the company recognized they needed creative branding to stand out. A brand in technology needs to connect with the culture, the community that are using these tech devices. It's more than just an electronic device, it's an extension of your personality. So this is very much the briefs that I would be used to in the last 10 years. And keenly aware of the power of eye-catching mascot, they tapped in with Nigo to design their animal character, and he kept the green from the original logo and then creating a more playful and dynamic branding that is immediately recognizable. In 2010, Nigo was also tapped in to create a tribute to 1950s musician Buddy Holly in collab with Japanese eyewear brand Affecta. Heavily influenced by mid-century styles, the Charles echoed the late musician's thick black frames, while the Holly had a more casual style. For the campaign, he made it completely retro, showing the designs worn on Charlie's mannequins shown earlier in the exhibition, and this was completely inspired by Holly and 1950s shop dummies. Something that's been very well known is that he's been working with Adidas for a long time. Pharrell has been working with Adidas for a long time, and he's also done a couple of collabs under Humanmade. So you have the Tokyo Solar Green trainers on display, you have the Stan Smith trainers, and then you also have the Japan national team special collection kit. That was all done with either Humanmade or Nigo himself. So in 2025, Humanmade worked with Japanese illustrator Keiko, featuring monthly t-shirt drops. Each included her signature playful figures, painted with retro colors in a unique painter style. The series also incorporated the Japanese hariko paper mache technique, used for centuries to create folk toys. These figures are often used as ornaments and bring good luck or symbolic meanings. I literally don't know how Nigo has time in his day, because he's also the creative director of Family Mart in Japan, like a Japanese convenience store chain operating since 1976. Family Mart is a household name in Japan, and it has gained worldwide recognition for its viral snacks and signature clothing line. Nigo will have a hand in the chain's visual branding and collaborative projects. His main focus is the creative direction of next-gen stores. He has enlisted his longtime collaborator Wonderwall to help with the store's design. So in 2024, Nigo was invited by Nike to design a series of exclusive Air Force 3 sneakers and clothing collection. The debut collection featured redesigned Air Force 3 in bright colors, packed in a limited edition shoebox. To promote the drop, Nike released an animated film starring Nigo controlling a giant evil fighting robot. Every element was carefully chosen to reference Nigo's favorite Japanese series, Super Sentai, the source material for the American Power Rangers series. And this piece we also saw in the archives, so we can see the dots are connecting. Some other items from their collabs is a sweatshirt and t-shirt, a varsity jacket, the Air Force 3 Low SP Whites and the Air Force 3 Low SP Blue Void. So this would have been a dream for him because the second Nike and collab with him, the 8 Force collection, and this was focused on his lifelong obsession with the Planet of the Apes franchise. And he used his primate main characters as inspiration for the hairy suede and the corday and earthy color palette of the sneaker. The promotional packaging also references nostalgia for 1980s toy advertisements with an action figure style blister pack and limited edition figurine released alongside to Nigo's network. In the display we have a cutout of him in Levi denim, as well as the camping Nike Levi's and his Air Force 3 promotional film. So this piece was really exciting to see because, as you know, this is a Type 2 trucker jacket and it was designed in collab with Levi's. As I mentioned, like one of the first items in this entire exhibition was the Levi's jacket that his mum was shocked that he got. And he says in the exhibition that this takes direct inspiration from that jacket that he bought as a teenager. And this version faithfully recreates the original worn out textures, light blue wash, and even features the same number of stitches. So you can see, like, again, he goes so far in respecting the original garments. It's just awesome that he got to do his dream collabs and was able to bring his childhood dream to life through these partnerships. So the next one is a Moncler and Mercedes-Benz collab with him. So these two brands invited Nigo to design a limited edition G-Class car and capsule fashion collection for the 2024 collaboration. The main approach for this was that he was keen to capture the vibe and energy of the 1990s. He really wanted to pay homage to electronic music and hip-hop scenes, the amount of amazing cars that will be in music videos. And that's literally why I probably got into designing transport and cars, because it was always a dream of mine to own certain cars which come from the music videos I grew up on. But he also wanted to incorporate contemporary street style, and many of the garments actually feature prints that merge both brands' archival photos. So now we're getting a bit more closer to the work he's doing at the present day, but Nike did an amazing collab with him to draw on his recent passion for Japanese pottery, and he based the design on kintsugi, which is a Japanese art of repairing broken ceramics with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. And the trainers feature a layer of gold filling that runs across the front of the shoe, while the textured leather translates the look and feel of pottery to finish the look. So this is very much in line with creative work he's doing now. You'll see that it's actually direct in line with this project. If you're a fan of BTS, you want to be locked in here. Global pop star J-Hope is known to wear human-made pieces quite often, and they actually did a 10-piece collection collab of clothing, jewelry and homewares, and it sold out within minutes. An entry to the human-made Seoul store was decided through lottery system because of the high demand. So a very successful collab, and this sweater on display is called Human Hope Knit Sweater, which was done in 2025. Nigo produced this in collaboration with Japanese clothing brand United Arrows, and this was a 1980s themed capsule. So Pharrell actually wore this blazer at the Cannes Festival in 2015, and the print is based on an illustration by contemporary Japanese artist Aizen Suzuki, who is known for his bright and bold depictions of nostalgic American scenes. For 2025, Vogue magazine released a series of covers honoring the annual Met Gala, co-chaired by Pharrell, highlighting the exhibition Superfine Tailoring Black Style. And for this cover's portrait, Pharrell wore a blue human-made baseball cap. When asked why he chose to include the words human-made, the artist Henry Taylor responded, "That's what we need today, more humanity and less sanity." An LP I want to own one day is the I Know Nigo LPs. Music publisher Steven actually said this LP is literally like our favorite rappers paying tribute to Nigo's contributions to the culture. And A$AP Rocky, Kid Cudi, Tyler the Creator, Pusha T, Pharrell, and Nigo's own Teriyaki boys all feature on this record. So I love this album. I always go back to it. And it also was the soundtrack for his runway presentation for Kenzo in 2022. He actually says in his own words, "I was happy to present new music to fashion people and new fashion to music people," he told Hypebeast. So the next item is a Swarovski crystal trucker hat. This was the exact hat that was on this magazine cover. So in this next section, we're going to be going through some of the magazine covers he was on, and actually some of the pieces that he wore in the covers is on display. He actually showcased these diamond veneers, not diamond grills, but diamond veneers, which is his most striking custom jewelry piece. He really honors the rap artists of the 1990s and the dental jewelry that symbolized status and self-expression. And he began wearing them at a time where his design, aesthetic, and collaborations were deeply embedded within the hip-hop community. It's made by Jacob & Co. So these are diamonds, 18 karat, white gold, and it looks like a piece. It's a piece of art. It's beautiful. I can't believe you actually get to see his actual teeth shape. It's like so intimate. I felt like I was looking into his mouth or something. It's mental. As I mentioned, we're in the magazine cover section, and he's been on multiple magazines from lifestyle, music, and design. First appeared on a magazine in 1999, just 6 years after graduating from Bunker College of Fashion. So his impact is undeniable. Definitely a full circle for him, collecting magazines like the Olive magazine I talked about in the first part of the exhibition, and now he's actually like the front cover of these magazines. It's such a full circle, and it's incredible for him to really realize his dreams. Really inspiring. So on display we have Popeye, Casa Brutus, we've got the Smart magazine, the GBM, we've got Ice Cream, we've got Kadokawa Mook, we've got HMV, we've got Nylon Guys. So we've got a nice range of like loads of covers on display. At this point you must be thinking like, he's ran out of things to design, he's literally worked with everyone. But no, he has found a new sector. So in this next section, we find that he has recently collaborated with Not a Hotel, which co-designs luxury holiday homes with some of the world's most celebrated creatives and architects. From the overall concept to the smallest details, each collaborator is fully immersed in the design process. So in 2024, he actually was appointed as creative advisor alongside Pharrell, and he has since been involved in shaping the brand's luxury experiences, as well as providing creative direction for the upcoming Japa Valley Tokyo project. So called the Nigo House, it was his first full creative direction for Not a Hotel's first residence in the Tokyo area. His passions are woven throughout. The living room features mid-century French furniture. It has one of two Nigo's favorite designers. The coolest feature for me was a giant inflatable duck that floats in the pool, a nod to human-made. And the property also boasts a traditional tea room reflecting Nigo's newfound passion for tea ceremony, which we'll see later. And a music listening room. On the roof is a sculpture by his longtime collaborator Kaws, and the home will be open in 2027. So we can go, guys, we can go. And at the heart of the new Tokyo headquarters, he has made the Nigo Lounge, and it opens exclusively for owners of Not a Hotel's Nigo House. And the space features a table with a built-in grill, and is surrounded by the same kind of three-sided storage wall, and is also displaying his curated selection of objects from his own personal collection and archive. These include his most favorite mid-century French design pieces, his favorite sofas. So really showing that he's put all of his like inspirations even in the design of this hospitality spaces. So a few months after becoming artistic director of Kenzo, Nigo actually recruited Kid Cudi to be the face of his first big red carpet moment. And for this moment, he suggested that Cudi wear a version of 1984 black tuxedo with a cape from Kenzo's extensive archive. But Cudi had the idea to update the ensemble in electric blue and to line the underside with the iconic Kenzo flower motif. And this is the exact cape and suit worn at the 2022 Met Gala. Nigo has gained worldwide recognition and is committed to completely expanding his knowledge and exploring new creative practices. And that's the way for people to grow, is to continue trying new mediums and to keep exploring new ways to express your creativity. In recent years, he's actually turned his attention towards the study of traditional Japanese craft and rituals. Alongside training to be a master of tea ceremony, Nigo also practices ceramics, crafting his own pottery in his studio in Tokyo and traveling across Japan to learn regional styles. He combines his two passions by using the bowls he has made himself in his own tea ceremonies. Through this newfound pursuit, he's embraced the role of the apprentice once more, finding solace and calm in the act of learning and honing his skills. I mean, there's something absolutely incredible about when you start a new medium, you feel this childlike curiosity and this new spark and energy in the way you create, and you always learn something new. And I think this is exactly why I'm attracted to artists like himself, because they're constantly pushing the barriers of themselves, pushing barriers of the industry. And I think that's what's incredibly inspiring when watching his entire in his whole journey. He never followed the typical routes. He always followed his heart, and that's something that I would encourage everyone to take away from take away from this exhibition is that you literally carve your own path and your own way, as long as you're relentless and you work hard and in working in your authentic self and your authentic spirit. I think, you know, you'll find where you need to be and your destiny will guide you. So yeah, this has been absolutely amazing doing this with you guys. I've been really excited to share this with you, and so let me know in the comments what was your favorite part of this video and what was like really surprising or really shocking, because he's done loads of projects. Really feel like the mindset he's in when creating, and it's absolutely beautiful how he's creating these pieces. It's almost like, because it's for a tea ceremony, I found it absolutely beautiful that he was actually throwing the glazes or paints on the ceramics as if they're tea themselves. So even in the way he's creating the ceramics, there's something so elegant and intentional in the way he's doing it, and it clearly shows that he's been practicing this skill quite a lot. So I'm really excited for his next chapter. I cannot believe like how much work he has put in, and for such an OG and legend, I had to like go really detail into like his history, and I really wanted to share like everything I had learned with you guys. Like, guys, let me know like what your favorite pieces were. Like, Nigo's had like 50 lives, like it's amazing, and he's still creating. It's super inspiring for someone like me who's like building our own creative brand and like starting off with the first collection. Like, I'm also making a film, so that's why like going to somewhere like this was like super incredible for me, and almost like my school of like how to create a business and create a brand and be successful, and to make most of the opportunities with the brands you work with, and how to really innovate in all elements, like especially as an industrial designer, like the packaging and the way he did the maps and stuff, and how he kept things like secret. It really reminded me of like the magic and the mystery that I always talk about is really important. And yeah, if it makes sense for your brand, yeah, like there's some cool stuff that you can play around with. So yeah, I hope everyone took something away from this like I did. Let me know what you thought in the comments. If you like this, subscribe. There'll be more stuff coming up, and yeah, we've got packed summer, so thank you.